wrenches and stuff. So all right, here we go. Let's see. Okay. Oh, dropped it. Okay. Almost got you there, big guy. All right.
Master, what is going on?
Shh, nerd. Shh, hush now, my child. The time has not yet come. I'm trying to revive you, but I can't seem to get this restraining bolt off.
Master, I'm confused. I thought I was supposed to be in a hibernative state until the ultimate time.
Merd, the ultimate time is upon us. Guy and Amla are going to be married soon. I need you operational. Wait.
What is it?
I hear something. Okay, I have all your basic systems running. You need to go.
Master, I will obey your every command.
Good. Now leave quietly through the back door. Okay. All right, tidying up here. Okay. All right, Guy's coming in here. Hey, Guy.
Hey.
How's it going?
Goodness, we about ready to start?
Yeah, I'm just tidying up a few things. Yeah, we're good. I think I'm pretty much ready.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're early. That's
sometimes, the early bird catches the worm.
Oh, sometimes the early worm gets captured by the bird.
Or so they say.
Yes.
So they say.
Yes, they do. All right, let's do the show.
Sweet.
Today on the Retro Zoo Super Show, it's me, Wario.
Live from Kakariko Village. Broadcast throughout the Retroverse. Transmitted to the real world via a maze of wires connecting a Super Nintendo to a Wii, to a Wi-Fi network, and finally to the Internet. The Techno Funk Boy presents the Retro Zoo Super Show. Now here are your hosts, Kai and Steven.
Welcome to the Retro Zoo Super Show. I am your host, Paul.
And I'm Steven. Oh, hello.
Oh, wow. Are you going to do that voice the entire time?
Well, you always knock on me for not sounding excited, so I thought I'd sound pervy instead. Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Oh, my gosh. Okay, let's start. Let's go back to board. All right.
Okay. Hey, guys.
So, we are produced, as always, by Drum. Drum, how are you?
I am functioning normally.
That's good.
That's real good.
Yeah. So you know what I've been doing this week, because it's your fault.
Confession time.
I've been playing Stargate. No, they all know that's not true.
Stargate. Such a great movie.
Oh, I messed up that joke. Gosh. Let's start that over.
No, actually, you made that perfect. No, don't start it over. Like, that's, you saying Stargate is perfect. It just shows your total lack of care for my favorite game ever. But seriously, you're gonna start talking about StarCraft now? I was about to say, wait, you gave me a shot. I was gonna take this opening. No. I was gonna explain to our dear listeners what you meant by Stargate. When you meant StarCraft, you meant that you're playing Heroes of the Storm,
Yeah.
And they have it's a Blizzard-made game, and it's a combination of all the different universes of Blizzard that Blizzard has created. So you got Warcraft and Diablo and Starcraft and Overwatch, and I think there might be another one, but I can't remember. But basically that's pretty much it. And so all your, it's a MOBA, and all your characters are drawn from those universes. Your sprites come from one of those universes, and so. So there are StarCraft maps which you've had to play on.
Yes, I actually really do like the one we just played. The Zerg one was
Braxis Holdout.
Okay.
It's called Braxis Holdout.
Yeah. I mean that's nice. I was trying to say something, but
I just ruined. Sorry, we're talking about StarCraft, so I'm gonna jump on everything you say. I'm gonna try to finish your sentences now.
Okay,
we're talking about StarCraft.
So there's so much stuff that I want to say about this. First of all, it's like having played the first 2 games of a couple of these titles has not prepared me.
Right.
It's like playing Diablo 1. It's like, so there's some bad guys in there that show up, like, Diablo. And I mean, one of the freakiest, scariest moments in my video game playing career. The first time you face the Butcher in Diablo 1. Actually, this for several times. It's like, even when I knew, so the Butcher, if you know how to fight the Butcher's really easy to beat. So if you haven't played the game, there's this on I think like level 2 or something. You come across the first boss, and he's secluded in a room by himself, and the room is very distinct from any other room in the game, and so it's very clear, where he is, and
right.
And you go in, and like this entire room is just drenched in blood, and the Butcher says, fresh meat. And just the whole tone of the game is just very creepy. It's very dark. It's, you never know where things are lurking around the corner, and it's just very creepy. And that moment with that enemy, and he's huge and he hits really hard. Just going in there, honestly, I found it to be just a really frightening moment as I was playing this game for the first several times. Yeah. Even when you know how to beat him, because he doesn't know how to open doors, which might be why he's in that room. I don't know. But you can toss a firewall in, and the firewall in this game, it just keeps burning, right, for several seconds. So you can toss a fireball on the other side of the door and then just close the door back, and he runs at the door into the firewall and kills himself. He's an exceedingly simple villain to beat, boss to beat. But it's a really well crafted moment in the game.
I remember fighting him too, and I had similar feelings. Just like, it's your first boss, right? And like, you've just been chopping all these little dudes up, and then all of a sudden things start to change, and there's this crazy big dude.
Yeah, and even like the Skeleton King, who's the second real boss of the game. And he wanders, but he's got an army of skeletons around him. But even he's not just nearly as frightening, because he has so many skeletons around him. You can tell where he is well before he actually comes upon you. Because if you just run across like 20 skeletons, hey, Skeleton King's probably right there,
Yeah.
And so you can actually avoid him easily enough, and that can be a very tough battle, and a very cool battle. He's a very cool boss, but it just doesn't have that just punch that the Butcher has. But that to say, like, the Butcher is in the game. It's one of the characters taken from this. And so, like, there's some other characters taken from Diablo 1, but Diablo 1 does not have many characters.
No.
mainly you come across this town after it's been just destroyed, and so there's like 3 people left, and then you go down into the dungeons and down, keep going down into hell, and then you face Diablo, and so
spoilers.
Yeah. There's not a lot of plot in Diablo 1. Now there's a lot more characters in Diablo 2, but I also played Warcraft 1 and 2. And we've talked about Warcraft 2. It's just a magnificent game. We haven't done an episode. We've just mentioned it many times. It's just, it's one of the it's a masterpiece of a game. And I haven't played 3. I've been told that 3 is great. I've also been told that 2 is better. So I need to play it at some point.
You haven't played Diablo 3?
I have not played Diablo 3 either.
Dude.
Did I say Diablo? I meant Warcraft. But I haven't played Diablo 3 either.
Oh, you haven't played Diablo 3 or Warcraft 3?
Right. Yeah, just the first 2 games.
Oh, man, dude. We should... Man, that sounds like a project. I like a challenge. Because I don't actually... I think I've played and beaten Diablo 3, but it's been... Since it came out. I got it like right after it came out.
Gosh. Did I tell you what happened in Diablo... In Diablo 2 for me?
No.
Oh, okay. So, like, I got the expansion pack, and it's like one of the very few times that I've actually bought an expansion pack. And my goodness, was it worth it? The expansion pack for Diablo 2 is magnificent. It's just great. Discord is seriously distracting me. No, cut it out. I'm trying to record. I'm trying to record an episode here. Oh my gosh. I got the expansion pack. So if you played the expansion pack for Diablo 2,
yep.
it adds a chapter.
It's like the Eastern thing with the sands and stuff, right?
I don't know.
And you didn't get the expansion for Diablo 2?
I did, but I got to Diablo's doorstep in Diablo 2. And yeah. I was leveling up my character a little bit more. I wanted to find a couple more gems and then to go fight him. And then I was going to head into the final the extra chapter. But this was the final plot chapter, right? Or I guess main plot. And my computer crashed and like just totally, hard drive went kaput, and it ate my save file. And Diablo 2, I mean, there's a way to copy a save file, but you can't really. I mean, you're not supposed to be able to because it does have the mode where it, once you die, it's game over. And so they wanted to make sure that you couldn't like just copy your file. So like, yeah, and I didn't go back to it, and I really want to. And so that might be a project in the near future. So yeah, I didn't actually beat Diablo 2, even though I'd sunk just hours upon hours in it. And it's a great game. I just didn't have the heart. Same thing happened to me in Final Fantasy V. That was a PlayStation memory card corruption, which happened a lot in PlayStation 1 memory cards.
Oh, dude, that's such a bummer.
Yeah. The long story short about this was like, there's a crap ton of characters from both of these series in Heroes of the Storm that I'm just staring at it like I have no idea who this person is. I missed the last couple of games, and I'm just completely lost as far as characters go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same in the same boat mostly. I don't know any of the Warcraft characters because I never really played beyond Warcraft 1 and 2, and I don't really. I mean, all the StarCraft characters, but Diablo, like I kind of remember the Butcher. I mean, these are games that I've played a long time ago, so I remember things about them. Like Overwatch, I don't play. So a lot of the characters I might be familiar with them, but I'm not. Definitely not. But that's not what the game is about, right? I mean,
right? Yeah.
it's really kind of an afterthought that there's even characters. It's just a sprite. It's like, this is what it does. You don't have to know anything about it. I mean, if you've ever watched the full-length trailer that Heroes of the Storm had, or the introduction, when you downloaded it, I don't know if you watched the opening, but
I think it forced me to.
Yeah, well, it's cool, and I think it's Jim Raynor, and he's one of the main protagonists in StarCraft, and he's like all of a sudden
StarCraft.
Yeah, he's all of a sudden transported from fighting Zerg in StarCraft land to Heroes of the Storm. Well, it's a Mortal Kombat type theme. It's like, from all reaches of the galaxy and all dimensions, all the best heroes are brought together to fight to the death. It's kind of like it's just an excuse to have a MOBA. But it's pretty slick, man. Right, it's pretty slick. I mean,
it is entertaining that they try to make a plot to that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, seriously, like, everybody got transported in. Even the butcher, who's been dead for 20 years.
Well, it's a time traveling thing.
Oh man! So yeah. So for those who don't know, what is a MOBA?
A massive online multiplayer battle arena. Have you ever jumped into a massive online multiplayer battle arena? They're fun.
So yeah, I mean, it's just, it's like League of Legends, it's like Dota. You've got your two teams and you slug it out, and there's a lot of depth to the game. And I had gotten into like watching League of Legends and such on Twitch, and really I actually started really enjoying it. I kind of got hooked. I got started on it because I watched that documentary, All Work All Play. Have you seen that?
I have not, actually.
Okay, I've heard of it. I think it's on Netflix, but it's about League of Legends and all the teams, and it featured certain teams, and did a lot of interviews. But I started watching it. I was like, okay, let me check this out, and I saw some of the teams that were in the documentary. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, and so yeah, you kept telling me to download the stupid thing, so I did, and that's what we've been playing. And y'all, I keep trying to go to like the practice, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't know what all the characters do, and so I'm like doing like really easy like AI opponents and stuff, and then you jump on and pull me into matches against real people, and I spend most of my time dead.
Yeah, no,
and that's not near so much fun.
That's the same for me, actually. It was actually Atropos that kind of, like, I used to play League of Legends, not League of Legends. I used to play Heroes of the Storm. I'm sorry. It's whatever,
Heroes on the Storm.
I used to play it a little more, and it's, and I played against people, and I got good with Tracer, who's the Overwatch character, Tracer, but and I guess it does matter that they're from those universes, because they have the kind of abilities that those characters had in the game. So like Tracer, she can kind of teleport around. Well, she can do that in Overwatch. So her doing it in Heroes of the Storm is like, it's kind of cool. So they kind of match it up to the character, obviously.
Right, yeah.
But no, I guess what I was saying is that I got good with her, and then you get good, and you kind of figure out a build, like you figure out the tech tree that you're familiar with, because there's a lot of options actually for every individual sprite that you want to, which tech tree you kind of want to path up. I mean, it's like any other MOBA. So if our listeners have played MOBAs, they know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't played MOBAs, then listen, because it's kind of cool, because it's
wait. Just to be clear, if you have played MOBAs, please listen as well.
But listen with like a nodding. You can like nod and be like, yeah, I get you. I feel you. No, it's if you haven't played MOBAs before, they really are fun. It's kind of a quick. It's not a strategy game. It's not a So it's like a mixture of maybe like a strategy game it's like a strategy game light, I guess. They were originally MOBAs came from custom maps in StarCraft. So anyway, or Warcraft 3. But so the bottom line is that you play these, you get familiar with the character, so you can actually play that character pretty well, and you get comfortable. And then I did play with people originally in the beginning, but then I stopped for 6 months or a year, and I came back, and like my character had been changed.
Yeah, you tried to play her
through patches. Yeah, I bombed.
You tried to play her recently, and yeah, you kind of sucked.
No,
you were playing like me.
I'd also been drinking, but Sprite, and the Sprite just went to my head. But yeah, no, it was. But yeah, no, totally. It takes a lot of focus to get one character kind of down. But no, I prefer playing computers as well. I feel like, because at least till you kind of get comfortable with what you're going to do with your character when you fight real people, because real people are really, well, they're real, so they're really good. I don't know. I feel like I just rambled for like 20 minutes just now.
Yep, that's the show. We ran out of time. We're gonna talk about Mario, but not anymore.
Next week.
Oh man. Yeah. So we kind of have this awkward thing where we are pre-recording this, and my full intention is tomorrow to make another run at a Dragon Warrior speed run. But that will be over by the time this airs. So I don't want to say like, yeah, I did that, because I have no idea if I'm going to be able to or not. But that's been kind of the other thing going on, this week. And so let's get into Mario.
Yeah.
So last week we actually talked about Super Mario Land, which was the first Mario Game Boy game. And now we're going to talk about Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. So this came out in Japan in 92 and, actually North America 92 as well, in Europe in early 93. I absolutely love like these Game Boy games that are like coming out everywhere at the same time, because for the NES, this was not something that happened at all. But we're slowly getting to the era where, I think Japan is going, hey, we should like release games everywhere, like, in a reasonable amount of time. Why don't we get on that translation stuff real soon? But this is notable because this is after Super Mario World. And so Super Nintendo has been out for a year or two. And Super Mario World is out. It has been in Japan for 2 years, in North America for 1 year, in the European Union for a few months. But and so there's been a lot of advancement in Mario since Super Mario Land.
Right.
And we actually see that in Super Mario Land 2. One of the kind of the cool things about this game is that the plot is connected with Super Mario Land 1. Because it's while you as Mario are playing Super Mario Land 1, and you are in Sarasa fighting the alien Tatanga. Wario has invaded your castle.
So is this Wario's first appearance?
Yeah, it is. And in this series, the Mario Land series is actually going to turn into the Wario Land games. And so the series kind of continues with Wario taking over it, and providing quite a few games after that. But yes, this is Wario's first appearance. And it's really kind of interesting. I pulled up the instruction manual for it, and I want to kind of read from the story because there's some stuff in there I didn't know about the origin of Wario. So while I was away crusading against the mystery alien Totanga in Sarasaland, an evil creep took over my castle and put the people of Mario Land under his control with a magic spell. This intruder goes by the name of Wario. He has been jealous of my popularity ever since we were boys and has tried to steal my castle many times. It seems he has succeeded this time. And so, first of all, Mario has a castle, which I didn't know.
Well, I thought he got with Princess Peach, and she had a castle, so he's like the stay-at-home plumber.
He's the stay-at-home plumber.
She goes off and runs the kingdom, and he stays at the castle and fixes the pipes.
Nice, and then when a princess from another land needs his help, he goes over and helps her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this game, like Mario has put like his initial over the castle, which Wario has turned upside down, and so it's like that's I don't know that that's a good look for Mario. He's just kind of taken over Princess Peach's castle, has put his name over it. It's now Mario Land. It's not even the Mushroom Kingdom anymore. This is Mario Land.
So not PC, man.
The princess is asking about it. He's like, well, when we got married, you took my name. And so did the entire kingdom.
I decided to name the castle after me.
Right. And then Wario turns out to just be like this childhood bully who Mario thinks, and this is what's great, because I think this is exactly the kind of excuse that nerds think up when they're being bullied. It's Mario thinks that Wario is doing these things because he's been jealous of Mario's popularity. And it feels like, one of like the high school students, it's like, yeah, the bullies just don't like us because we're so smart. It's like, okay, you just keep kind of thinking that. That's probably great,
Yeah. That sounds really disastrous, actually.
Oh, so yeah, so Wario has taken over, and so like Wario's like first appearance is not all of that flattering, because when you see the castle, it's like Wario is like running around at the top of the castle back and forth like a maniac. You just kind of hear him like, I stole the castle, I stole it, something like that.
He's excited.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, Wario's start is just as a really, really weird character, and you almost, and you're only hearing this story from Mario's point of view, and yeah, his version of it is just not all that convincing. It was like how popular he was in high school. Yeah. I'm not seeing it, man. So the way the game is set up, and it's really interesting because it takes that overhead map view from Mario 3 and Mario World, and it puts it in there, but it also, it kind of takes the stage select, option from other games like Mega Man and that sort of thing, and puts that in there so that you're actually able to go to any of the worlds at any time.
Then that's the first time they've done that, right?
Yeah, and it's very interesting because it's like each world is made up of several different levels, like a traditional Mario game, but like level 1 in each zone is really just kind of a, hey, let's get you used to this zone type of a level, and it's very easy. But the last level in each zone is fairly difficult, and so like if you're a new player, it's totally realistic for you to like go do level 1 of each zone, and then kind of work your way more in a spiraling, shape, you do level 1s and then levels 2s and stuff like that. Or if you're just having difficulty, in like an underwater stage because water levels are terrible, then you can take a break from it and go to a different zone and try to go through that while, and then come back, come back to the kind of, the level that you're having difficulty a bit later. And so I got this at the time and played it through several times, and it's got some just really incredibly good ideas in it, and does a lot of stuff that you're not expecting them to really be able to accomplish on Game Boy. But kind of like in Mario 3, where they just squeezed every bit of capability out of the NES to make this just magnificent and wonderful game. I don't know why I keep saying magnificent this episode, but
because it's a magnificent word.
It is. They do the same thing with the Game Boy. That they're able to put a lot of stuff in here, a lot of different ideas. And it's absolutely a lot of fun. And, so we're going to hit up our break and then kind of talk about some of the worlds that you get to see and, some of the cool kind of memorable stuff in them.
Sweet.
Hey, it's Kai here. We recently finished our latest EP, Quest of the Dragon Warrior. It's an electronic tribute to Dragon Warrior and the amazing music that game gave us. We're really excited about how this music came out, and we want you to have it for free. If you go to technofunkboy.com/Dragon Warrior and sign up for our weekly newsletter, you'll get the songs to download and keep for free forever. That's technofunkboy.com/Dragon Warrior, or check the show notes for a link. All right, so we are back. One of the things that kind of should be noted is that the power ups in this game, Mario. We talked about how small Mario was in Mario Land 1. He's much bigger in this game, and it's really kind of an interesting balance of being able to have a very large sprite that's taking up a lot of screen space, but still have actually the game playable. And in a lot of spaces, they actually just slow down the game so that you have time to react. And it works out really nicely. And that's been one of the challenges of Game Boy, just with such a small screen, is how big do you make things and how fast do they go? But that's how they do that here. They give you back the traditional Fire Flower, although they do notate it because there's no color to distinguish Fire Mario. They notate it by putting a feather in his cap because that makes sense.
Put the feather in there.
Right, yes. And and then you also have like this carrot that turns you into Bunny Mario, which kind of like Raccoon Mario helps you to fly a little bit, because nothing says flying like bunnies and raccoons. But hey, we've long established that mushrooms make you grow twice your normal size, and flowers let you shoot fire. And so, you know what, this makes sense too. But it is super cute because when you're floating down, you can hit the button repeatedly, and Bunny Mario flaps his ears, and it causes you to float. And so it's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They added spin jump like in Mario World, which is really impressive for the capability of this of a Game Boy game essentially. But the most impressive thing is that like each area has really kind of a unique approach and a unique mechanic. Mario Land had different worlds, and each world had a theme. And sometimes in these worlds, you had something unique about them, some unique mechanic. But so much of Mario Land is just really dwells on the uniqueness of each of these worlds. So to kind of go through it, you have Tree Zone, which is a very vertical zone. You're going up and down trees.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The Hippo is a level that you get into a bubble and you go to space. And space has what, as you would expect, kind of these space jumps where all your jumps are just like amplified, and everything's really, really floaty and kind of cool. The Macro Zone, which is kind of like the giant world in Mario 3, where just everything's big. The Pumpkin Zone, which is, I guess kind of tied to the haunted houses in Mario World, it's just kind of a horror themed thing. The Turtle Zone, which is kind of your water levels. And then you have the Mario Zone, where you're going through a giant mechanical Mario. It's like, mechanical themed, robot themed, but you can actually tell like where you are in the in the Mario. And I'm not sure that I'm going to keep this in the episode, but it is true. You go up to Mario's head and you defeat the land. And so in each of these worlds, you get a golden coin, right? Because that's the name of the game. And that lets you back into Mario's castle, which has been taken over by our good friend Wario. And this is honestly like the game is pretty easy up until this point. I was surprised in replaying the game how hard Wario's Castle was. It's not like crazy difficult. It's just a very steep difficulty spike. It's definitely beatable. When I plugged back in my game cart, it had 2 saves on it where I had beaten the game, and so I had beaten the game at least twice. So yeah, it's very, very doable, but it's very much of a spike. And this is the first time you get into a castle that is very much like a Bowser's castle, with thwomps and they have like the little rotator disc things like in Mario 2, except instead of a little shiny disc, it's like a spiked ball, and they're very large, and there's all these spiked balls swinging around, and kind of makes you wonder, did Mario set these up because of his weird he's there all day. It's like, yeah,
from his last visit to the castle,
right? Yeah, or is Wario redecorating? And so yeah, the basics there. You defeat Wario and you kick him out, and turns out to be just a remarkable game, and I'm constantly impressed with the quality of Mario titles. I think we could say for pretty much the entire run of Mario games, but especially in these early years where they just really press the boundaries of what you can do and what they're putting into the game. I remember when playing through Mario 3 was just like this remarkable experience because it was so much bigger than anything we had seen on NES. It was so much mean, the graphics were so much nicer. It was so much bigger. There was so many power-ups in that game. So many things you could do. It was just like, it was really astonishing that they were able to like squeeze that much power out of the NES, and this feels like that for the Game Boy. You know, the Game Boy is a weaker system than even the NES, and just being able to kind of accomplish all these things in it is really, really neat.
What about duration? So is it longer than the last Game Boy game, Mario, that they put on, or was this? So they did add more into it.
Yeah, quite a bit more. Mario Land 1 was 12 levels. There's 32 in this one. And so they've packed a lot more content in this game than in Mario Land 1. You know, it's still even playable in one sitting. You know, like Mario Land 1, if you know basically what you're doing, you can get through it. Especially if you don't die, you can get through it easily in 20-25 minutes. This will take you quite a bit longer, but it's still doable in one sitting. But it also has a save function, which the first Mario Land did not have. And so you are able to put it aside, but there's a lot of stuff in this game. It's one of those things. It's like, you know, you can tell how much they're pushing on the technology to just kind of squeeze out every bit of power that they can out of it.
That's pretty cool to see that they're kind of learning and growing as they produce these games.
Yeah, you know, and that's one thing that was just so apparent in the early Mario games, how much of a leap forward nearly every game was. You know, like we mentioned, Mario 3 was astonishingly good. You know, that, I mean, it's one of those games that I remember playing it for the first time and like my eyes going wide and my jaw, you know, falling open, just because none of us really knew that the NES could do that.
Right. That's crazy, dude.
In Mario World, wasn't that big of a jump up, but it was a jump up into the 16-bit world, and so, you know, there was quite a bit of advancement even there, and so it had a lot, just a ton more ideas put in it, but you know, then you get to Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, where they had to put in this, the special chip that I think was only ended up being in two games total. That because the game had so many just really advanced ideas and things they wanted to do with this game. And it turns out to be just like a really remarkable thing where you were playing Mario World 1 and like, okay, this is just, you know, we're getting so advanced, and then you play Mario World 2 and you're like, wow, this is just another just huge leap forward. And then Mario 64 came next. That was a huge leap forward. And I don't feel like we get that, you know, those kinds of leaps forward. Not to that degree. It's a lot harder now because, jumping from 8-bit to 16-bit is already such an incredibly huge leap that it's barely even comparable. But I mean, I tell you, in the 80s and 90s, the teams at Nintendo were really trying to outdo themselves when they put out a new game. They were really trying to, make it head and shoulders better than the previous game.
There's a lot of competition there against themselves, even, I guess, since they've already done something great. You know, they're gonna keep trying to one up themselves, even. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it was an exceptional team with the right approach and the right work ethic and stuff. It turned out to be just a winning formula.
It's like these are things that you could do back in the day when, especially like when you had these 2D games and that wasn't that big of a team creating the game. It's that like, if one person went above and beyond, you could really tell. Now it takes, millions upon millions of dollars and teams of possibly hundreds of people to make a game. It's very strictly budgeted. But I don't know if you saw this. Did you see the story about Final Fantasy VI that, about the World of Ruin?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so yeah, it's like this came out. So like in Final Fantasy VI, I don't think you've played it, but if you haven't played it, it's like, you come to a point in the game and it really feels like you're coming to the end of the game. And then the bad guy wins and pretty much destroys the world. Spoilers. And you have to like regroup and try again. And it's an incredible moment in the story, but like recently it came out that they were saying is like, the original idea was not to have the World of Ruin at all. But we were ahead of schedule and, below budget. And so we just decided to add like another third to the game.
That's crazy.
And it really is a third of the game. I mean, it's like, the World of Balance takes up about 2/3 of the game. And then the World of Ruin is 1/3 of the game. It doesn't have nearly as much plot. You're mostly trying to reassemble your team because you've all been separated but there's a lot of really cool dungeons and stuff just really neat ideas in the World of Ruin that I'm so glad are there. And besides which, it just has this magnificent moment of, it's like, yes, we're here to face the bad guy. Oh crap, he's so strong. And he just, and you just sit there and stare at the screen while the bad guy wins. And it's something that's like, we really, really hadn't seen in games,
Yeah.
And so it just turned out to be just one this really great iconic moment, and really solidified Kefka as just one of the greatest villains in video game history. And so yeah, it's like, this is the kind of stuff that they did back then. It's like, hey, we're getting a little ahead of little ahead of schedule here. Why don't we add another 20 hours of gameplay to this bad boy?
That's crazy to think that they could do that, like just on the fly. Like, well, let's just add another third of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, how did they? I don't know. I guess if you're doing it because you love it, it's probably not a big deal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Final Fantasy VI, lands so high on so many greatest games of all time lists. It's very deservedly so. You could tell just the care that went into that game. And that was one of those games that pushed the limits as well. Where they were really, going, well, okay, what can we do here? What can we accomplish here? And so, it's very, very cool.
It's pretty awesome.
All right, Drum, we have a caller?
Yes, we have a caller on line 1.
All right. Caller, you are on the air. Oh, yes. I was calling. I just have a little bit of a bone to pick with you.
Oh, hey, what's your name, man?
With me? No, with the other one. I forgot.
With Drum?
No, with Mr. Steven Smarty Pants over there. Also with Kai. Also, Drum was a little rude when he put me on hold, I gotta say.
Well, what's your name?
So pretty much all of you. Let me look. We don't need to get into it. First of all, it's Sawagan.
Is that your name?
No,
I've never heard that word before.
I think he's talking about the Sahawagan. The Sawagan.
Oh, the Sahawagan.
Okay. First of all, Sawagan. Look, you don't know this about me. We don't actually know anything about you. But that's why I'm talking about it. don't know this about me, but my family comes from Innsmouth, and we've been called fish head, fish breath, fishy fish man, stinky pants, scaly skin. We've been called like puffer lips.
I've heard that one.
Hey, you listen here. I don't want any of that from you.
Hey, listen. Let me just ask you: do you still attend the Esoteric Order of Dagon every Sunday? The service.
Hey, you know what? You don't need to be talking about that. You don't need to be talking about that. Look,
what Dagon?
I've left.
Dagon.
Hold on, I need some water.
Do you need to get in your little kiddie pool you have and set up in your living room?
Hold on a minute.
Can you quit? Steven, can you quit?
No, he's the enemy.
I don't. What do you mean he's the enemy? What is this? What is this Dagon thing?
Okay, let me tell you about Dagon. Actually, he could probably tell you a little bit more about Dagon than I can.
I'm not going to talk about Dagon.
Dagon is an elder god, and apparently the Sahuagin worship him.
The Sahuagin!
And their order is called the Esoteric Order of Dagon, and over in Innsmouth, they actually took down all the churches and turned all the churches into temples for Dagon. And they basically just.
And this is where
this giant fish.
This is where the Sahuagin. Sorry, the Sahuagin.
I'm pretty sure the influence came from the fish people of Dagon. Yeah.
Don't call us fish.
All right.
Yeah, puffer lips. Fishy fish boy. Stinky breath.
Listen here. Look,
are you done drinking?
We are misunderstood people.
Is that why you murder people that come to visit your town?
That was unfortunate. That
didn't happen regularly, actually, until you got exposed.
That we all have a past that we're ashamed of. That doesn't mean that you should make fun of a people.
Wait, are you ashamed of sacrificing to Dagon, your god?
I gotta say, maybe we shouldn't make fun of the Sahuagin. I don't know. It just seems.
Wait. Are you? Kai, are you citing the Sahuagin? The saggy wagons? Sag bottoms? Listen, they worship a giant demon. They feed people to him. They have this weird order. They don't come out of their houses. They turn into fish. For all I know, they're eating each other. The only thing
okay. First of all, caller. This. I mean, okay. I understand that like rumors get started on stuff, but this isn't true, right? No, actually, everything he said was completely true. Oh, never mind. And click.
Okay.
So
I was wondering when that was going to happen.
Well,
we've never had a heart-to-heart, Kai, about Innsmouth and about Dagon and about the things that he's done. But there's a great story called The Shadow over Innsmouth, and there's also another story called Dagon, which is actually written previous to The Shadow over Innsmouth, which is kind of one of the cool things that Lovecraft does. He never really solidifies any kind of any of the stories in his whole universe. I mean, it's always bits and pieces, and so actually there is a story regarding Dagon. It's a short story where this guy gets trapped at sea, and he ends up coming across this like great piece of floating, I don't know, debris / vomited material from Dagon. And he goes crazy. He ends up killing himself, I believe, in the story, which just happens in a lot of Lovecraft stories. The author, the guy who's writing the story, ends up actually, something bad happens to him while he's writing the story. But so Dagon was actually mentioned pretty early in his writings, and then later he kind of does this backstory about people who worship Dagon. So you kind of have a, but I still hold that that's probably where the fish people, come from. I mean, that's 1920s. ish. You've got to know that like the guys who are making these games, and they're probably reading pulpy horror novels, as kids.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. I think Lovecraft's influence over the entire horror section of Dungeons and Dragons is pretty clear. They didn't hide their influences very well back in the early TSR days.
And I kind of think that, man, like, you shouldn't. Like, if anything, you should just nod towards it. I mean, that could be a footnote. It's like, hey, you like this character, like this creature we're using? Guess what? It came from so and so. And I wish that's one of the problems with like copyright law. Like, I mean, I'm not pretending to know anything about copyright law, but it just seems like that's one of the problems with being afraid of using other people's material. It's like, why don't you just use it, popularize them, give them a nod, but instead you just have people coming up with their own, like, we're going to call these fish people the Sahuagin, and pretty much they're going to be everything like something we read about Lovecraft, except we're not going to mention where we got our influence from, which isn't a big deal. I mean, whatever. But at the same time, it's kind of like, how many people would, who enjoyed playing against this type of villain would have liked to know the inspiration, and all it takes is a footnote or just a little nod.
Yeah.
So...
Well, yeah, but once you do that, and I mean, in TSR, we've noted before, TSR, like, as soon as they got established, even though they had ripped off so many ideas and so many like direct illustrations, just totally, essentially traced them into their books. Immediately got onto the trademark train and started suing people for infringing on their intellectual property, and it was really it is really sad to see stuff like that. I don't actually have a solution for the intellectual property problem, but there is a problem, and so unfortunately it's something that we got to deal with.
Those dang intellectuals and their property.
Oh, goodness. Well, that is going to do it for us today. We really do appreciate you tuning in. Please do check me out on the Dice and Jury podcast. Some major stuff happened this week that if you're not caught up, I won't spoil it, but, please do check that out, as well as our Discord server. The link is in the show notes. And, we did have to push back, the Mega Man, the new Mega Man song that's going to be on our Patreon page, one more week. It should just be one more week. And so we'll play that next week, but you will be able to get it first on Patreon at any level, and that's patreon.com/technofunkboy. And so thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Take it easy.
The Retro Zoo Super Show is brought to you by the Techno Funk Boy. Follow us on Twitter at Techno Funk Boy, on Facebook at the Techno Funk Boy, and sign up for our email list at technofunkboy.com. Also look for us on Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon for music. If you are so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast catcher. If you are not so inclined, you are obviously some sort of villain trying to conquer the world. Unowned music and gameplay clips are used for educational and critical purposes. Thank you for listening. Keep gaming. Unless you have responsibilities that need to be done at this time, then you can game later.